The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy had gathered for the most important event of the year. Their seats were arranged in perfect circles around a central platform where a tall, blue-skinned creature stood waiting. Ambassador Kethver adjusted his ceremonial robes and looked out at the crowd. His 4 eyes scanned the faces of delegates from every corner of known space. Today was the day they would announce the annual rankings of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. "Welcome, friends and allies," Kethver's voice echoed through the chamber. "Today we reveal which planets pose the greatest threats to galactic peace and safety." The crowd fell silent. This information could change trade routes, military strategies, and diplomatic relations across dozens of star systems. Every species wanted to know which worlds to avoid and which ones might threaten their own territories. Kethver activated a holographic display that filled the air above the platform. Images of deadly planets began to appear, spinning slowly for all to see. "In 10th place, we have Nexus 7, he announced. The display showed a world covered in massive volcanoes that shot lightning into the sky. The storms on this planet can destroy entire fleets with a single bolt of energy. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. Everyone knew about Nexus 7. 3 expeditions had been lost there in the past decade. 9th place goes to the crystal caves of Mordock Prime. The image changed to show a planet that looked like it was made entirely of sharp, glowing crystals. The radiation from these formations can drive most species insane within hours. The announcements continued. Each planet was more terrifying than the last. There was Blood Moon Station, where reality itself seemed to bend and twist. The hive worlds produced monsters that could eat through metal holes. The death gardens of Veltar were covered in plants that could kill with a single touch. As they reached the top 5, the tension in the room grew stronger. These were the planets that military commanders had nightmares about. Worlds so dangerous that entire sectors of space were marked as no-fly zones around them. In 2nd place, Kethver paused for dramatic effect, the destroyer's graveyard of the Omega Sector. The hologram showed a region of space filled with the broken remains of thousands of starships. Something lived there that had been destroying vessels for over 1,000 years. No one knew what it was, and no one wanted to find out. The crowd was completely silent now. Every being in the chamber knew that whatever came next would be the most dangerous place in the known galaxy. Kethver's expression became serious. He looked down at his notes, then back at the crowd. "The award for most terrifying planet goes to ... He paused again, and the silence stretched on until it became uncomfortable. Earth. The word hung in the air like a poison cloud. For a moment, no one moved. Then the whispers began. "Earth? What's Earth? Never heard of it. Where is this place?" Delegate Zixthara of the Crystalline Confederacy stood up. Her body was made of living crystal that rang like bells when she moved. "Ambassador Kethver, there must be some mistake. Earth is barely known to us. They only made first contact 3 cycles ago." Other delegates began to voice their confusion. The 10-3 representative waved one of his many arms in disagreement. The fish-like Aquatic Federation delegates made clicking sounds that meant they were upset. Kethver raised his hands for silence. "I understand your surprise. When I first received this report, I thought there had been an error as well. But the evidence is overwhelming." He changed the holographic display to show a small blue and green planet. It looked peaceful, almost inviting. White clouds swirled around continents covered in green vegetation. Oceans sparkled in the light of a yellow star. "This is Earth," Kethver said. "Home to a species that calls itself human. On the surface, it appears to be a garden world. Perfect temperature, breathable atmosphere for most species, abundant water and vegetation." The crowd murmured in confusion. This planet looked like a vacation destination, not a threat to galactic security. However, Kethver continued, "We have received over 300 incident reports involving humans in the past 3 cycles. The pattern is ... disturbing." Meanwhile, halfway across the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison was having the worst day of his trading career. He stood in the cargo bay of his ship, the Endeavor, staring at a pile of rejected goods. "I don't understand," he said to his first officer, Pete Collins. "Yesterday, the Veltari were fighting each other to buy our coffee beans. Today, they won't even let me on their station." Pete scratched his head. He was a big man with hands that could bend metal, but he had the gentlest nature of anyone Jake knew. Maybe they found a better supplier. All of them, the same time? Jake shook his head. "Something's not right here." Their communications officer, Amy Parker, looked up from her console. She was young, barely out of the academy, but she had a talent for languages that made her invaluable in first contact situations. "Captain, I'm picking up some strange chatter on the alien frequencies," she said. "They keep mentioning humans, but I can't make out what they're saying. The translation software keeps giving me error messages." Jake frowned. "Error messages? That's new." "Yeah, it's like they're using words that don't exist in our databases. Something about death worlders and survival machines." Before Jake could respond, her pilot Tony Rodriguez came running into the cargo bay. Tony was the kind of person who never got excited about anything, so seeing him flustered was alarming.
"Captain."
"You need to see this," Tony said, breathing hard. "I was trying to get clearance to dock at Kepler Station, and the traffic controller started screaming when I said we were human." "Screaming?" Jake asked. "Not happy screaming. Terra screaming. Like we were about to blow up his station or something." Back in the Galactic Council chambers, Kethfer was reading from a long list of reports. Incident Report 247. Human vessel Lucky Strike encountered a Hive-Tal raiding party. Instead of surrendering or fleeing, the human crew fought back, using improvised weapons made from kitchen utensils and cleaning supplies. They not only survived, but captured the entire raiding party. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. The Hive-Tal were known as some of the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. Incident Report 156. Human trader Beth Martinez was stranded on Frostheim when her ship's heating system failed. Frostheim has surface temperatures that can freeze solid metal. She not only survived for 6 days, but was found building a shelter out of ice blocks and appeared to be enjoying herself. Delegate from the Thermal Collective fainted. Their species required temperatures over 200 degrees just to survive. Incident Report 89. Human Medical Officer Dr. Lisa Carter performed surgery on herself while under enemy fire, using only basic tools and staying conscious throughout the procedure. When asked why she didn't wait for proper medical facilities, she said someone needed to fix the engine. The gasps from the audience were audible now. Self-surgery was considered impossible by most galactic medical standards. Jake. Morrison finally managed to contact someone willing to talk to him. A nervous Glixen merchant agreed to meet him in a neutral location, far from any other aliens. "Please don't hurt me," were the first words out of Glixen's mouth when Jake approached. Jake stopped walking. "Hurt you? I just want to trade some Earth's vegetables for your mineral crystals." "Same deal we made last month." Glixen's tentacles writhed in what Jake had learned was a sign of extreme anxiety. You really don't know, do you? "Know what? About your reputation? About what your species has become known for?" Jake sat down slowly, trying to make himself seem less threatening. It didn't work. Glixen backed away until he hit a wall. "My species, we're just traders and explorers. We've never hurt anyone. That's what makes you so terrifying," Glixen whispered. "You don't even realize how dangerous you are." Ambassador Kethfer looked out at the shocked faces in the Galactic Council chamber. The delegates were still trying to understand how a peaceful-looking planet could be the most dangerous place in the galaxy. He knew the testimonials would help explain everything. "I will now present witness accounts from various species who have encountered humans," Kethfer announced. "These reports will help you understand why Earth has earned this designation." The holographic display changed to show Commander Vexali of the Aquatic Federation. She was a graceful being who looked like a cross between a dolphin and an octopus. Her people lived in the deep oceans of their homeworld and were known for their careful, methodical approach to everything. 6 months ago, my crew responded to a distress call from an abandoned mining station, Vexali began. Her voice carried the musical quality common to her species. The station had been attacked by raiders and was leaking toxic gases into space. We arrived to find a human vessel already there. The display showed images of the damaged station. It was a twisted wreck of metal and broken glass, spinning slowly in the void of space. Wow. The atmosphere inside was pure poison, Bexali continued. My people needed full environmental suits just to breathe. But when we entered the station, we found a human female working in the most dangerous section without any protection at all. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several delegates from species with delicate respiratory systems looked physically ill. Her name was Lieutenant Amy Parker. She had been working for 6 hours straight, rescuing survivors and repairing life support systems. The air around her was so toxic that our instruments couldn't even measure it properly. Bexali paused, her tentacles curling with remembered distress. When I asked her how she could survive in such conditions, she simply smiled and said the air reminded her of home, and she offered to share her lunch with me. The image changed to show Amy sitting calmly in the poisoned atmosphere, eating something from a small container. I scanned her food out of curiosity, Bexali said. Chemical compounds in her meal would have dissolved the internal organs of any being in this chamber. But she ate it willingly, claiming it was mild compared to what she usually enjoyed. The crowd was silent now, staring at the image of Amy Parker eating what appeared to be a weapon disguised as food. She worked for 3 more hours after that, saving 17 lives from 7 different species. When we offered to treat her for chemical poisoning, she laughed and said she felt fine. Then she asked if we had any coffee. The next testimonial came from Captain Rothkar of the Hegemony Fleet. He was a warrior from a species that prided itself on military strength and tactical superiority. His people had conquered 12 star systems through careful planning and overwhelming force. 3 months ago, my patrol ship encountered a human cargo vessel under attack by Crimson Fang pirates, Rothkar reported. The cargo ship was called the Peaceful Trader and carried only 1 human crew member. The display showed a small civilian spacecraft surrounded by 3 heavily armed pirate vessels. Should have been a hopeless situation. Human captain was named Greg Thompson. When the pirates demanded he surrender his cargo, he refused. Not only did he refuse, but he began broadcasting something he called classic rock music at maximum volume. Several delegates looked confused. Music as a weapon was not something they had encountered before. The pirates boarded his ship expecting easy prey. Instead, they found Thompson had somehow turned his life support system into a defensive weapon. He was using the air recycling system to create pressure waves that made it impossible for the pirates to maintain their balance. Image showed the interior of the ship, where armed pirates were stumbling around like children learning to walk. But the most disturbing part was Thompson himself. He was fighting 3 armed warriors while singing along to his music. Seemed to be enjoying the experience. Rothkar's military bearing cracked slightly. When my ship arrived to assist, we found Thompson sitting calmly among the unconscious pirates, drinking something called beer, and asking if we wanted to hear more of his music collection. The final testimonial came from Dr. Milsith, a xenobiologist from the Research Collective. Her species was known for their advanced medical knowledge and careful study of biological systems. I was assigned to study human medical practices after several disturbing reports reached our science council, Dr. Milseth began. I spent 2 months observing human medical facilities and procedures. The display showed various images of human hospitals and medical equipment. To most species in the chamber, they looked like torture chambers. What I witnessed defied everything we know about biology and medicine. Humans routinely subject themselves to procedures that would kill most species. They call it surgery, and they perform it on themselves while conscious. The crowd was becoming visibly distressed. Several delegates were making notes about avoiding human medical facilities. But the most shocking incident occurred when I was observing Dr. Lisa Carter, a human medical officer. Her shuttle crashed on a hostile world, and she was seriously injured. Instead of waiting for rescue, she performed surgery on herself, using only basic tools. The image showed Dr. Carter in the wreckage of her shuttle, calmly working on her own injured leg. She remained conscious throughout the entire procedure, providing her own medical narration for my benefit. When I asked why she didn't wait for proper medical facilities, She explained that the shuttle's engine needed repair, and she was the only person small enough to reach the damaged components. Dr. Milseth's professional composure began to crack. She fixed her own leg, repaired the engine, and flew herself to safety. Then she asked if I wanted to join her for dinner, as if nothing unusual had happened. Back on Kepler Station, Jake Morrison was still trying to understand what Glixen had told him. The alien merchant had disappeared as soon as other beings appeared in the area, leaving Jake with more questions than answers. Captain Amy Parker called over the comm system. I've been monitoring the station's communication channels. There's something you need to hear. Jake hurried back to the ship. Amy had isolated an audio feed from the station's main control room. Alert all personnel, a voice was saying. Human vessel in Docking Bay 7. Repeat, human vessel in Docking Bay 7. All non-essential personnel should evacuate the area. Immediately? Evacuate? Jake asked. Why would they evacuate because of us? Pete Collins joined them in the communications center. Captain, I've been talking to some of the maintenance crews. They're all terrified of us, but they won't say why. One of them asked me if it was true that humans could survive in the vacuum of space. That's ridiculous, Jake said. No one can survive in vacuum. That's what I told him, but he didn't believe me. Said he'd heard stories about humans doing impossible things. Tony Rodriguez came running into the room, looking more confused than ever. Captain, the strangest thing just happened. I was in the station's cantina, and this Zephyrian trader started crying when he saw me. Crying? Yeah, tears streaming down his face. He kept saying something about the Death World children and begging me not to hurt his family. Jake sat down heavily in his chair. This is getting out of hand. What could possibly make entire species afraid of humans? Amy pulled up more, intercepted. Communications. Listen to this, Captain. It's from the Veltari embassy. A nervous voice filled the room. Urgent message to all Veltari vessels. Humans have been confirmed as Class 12 survival specialists. They are capable of functioning in environments that would kill most known species. Do not attempt to threaten or intimidate them. They appear to view mortal danger as a form of entertainment. Entertainment? Pete asked. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, the ship's proximity alarms began blaring. Massive vessel was approaching their docking bay, moving far too fast for a normal approach. Captain Amy said, checking. Her instruments. That's a hegemony battleship. They're requesting permission to board. Jake stood up. Board us. For what? The answer came over the open communication channel. Human vessel Endeavor. This is Battle Commander Vextel of the Hegemony Fleet. We are here to offer you an escort to neutral space for the safety of everyone involved. Safety, Jake asked. We're not threatening anyone. That is exactly what makes you so dangerous, Vexel replied. You threaten people without meaning to. You help people in ways that terrify them. You treat deadly situations as normal occurrences. Jake looked around at his confused crew. I still don't understand, Captain. Amy said quietly, I think I'm starting to figure it out. Remember when we helped those crystalline traders fix their ship last month? Of course, their engine was overheating. Yeah, but to fix it, you had to crawl inside the engine compartment while it was still running. The temperature in there was over 300 degrees. So, Captain, that temperature would cook most alien species in seconds. But you just put on some work gloves and called it a little warm. Jake stared at her. But that's normal maintenance work. Not to them it isn't, Pete said slowly. And remember when we ran out of food on that long haul to the Outer Rim? We started eating those emergency rations, the ones that tasted like cardboard? The news of humanity's terrifying reputation spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications. Within days, every major government had called emergency sessions to discuss what they called the human problem. Dr. Quinter, of the Research Collective, stood before the Galactic Council's Science Committee. His 8 arms moved nervously as he presented his findings about Earth and its inhabitants. Honored delegates, what we have discovered about this planet defies everything. We thought we knew about habitable worlds, Dr. Quinter began. Earth is not just dangerous because of its inhabitants. The planet itself is a weapon. The holographic display showed Earth spinning slowly, looking peaceful and beautiful from space. But Dr. Quinter's data told a different story. This world experiences regular extinction events every few million cycles. Massive rocks from space crash into the surface, destroying most life forms. Volcanic eruptions cover entire continents in poison gas. Ice ages freeze the planet solid for thousands of years. The assembled scientists looked confused. Anything survive on such a violent world? But here's the most disturbing part, Dr. Quinter continued. Life on Earth doesn't just survive these disasters, it becomes stronger because of them. Each extinction event creates new, more dangerous species. Dr. Femara, a biologist from the Peaceful Gardens Collective, raised one of her flower-like appendages. Surely you exaggerate, Kali. No world could be that hostile to life. I wish I were exaggerating, Dr. Quinter replied. Let me show you Earth's current wildlife. The display changed to show various Earth animals. First came images of great white sharks, their massive jaws filled with razor-sharp teeth. Humans share their oceans with these creatures, Dr. Quinter explained. These predators can bite through solid steel. They hunt by smell and can detect a single drop of blood from miles away. Several delegates made sounds of horror. The shark disappeared, replaced by a massive grizzly bear. On land, humans coexist with beasts that stand 3 meters tall and can crush bone with their bare hands. These creatures can run faster than most military vehicles and climb trees, despite weighing as much as a small spacecraft. Dr. Femara was turning a pale shade of green. Her species had evolved on a world where the most dangerous creature was a plant that grew too quickly. But perhaps most terrifying of all, Dr. Quinter said, are the tiny creatures. The display showed a small, colorful frog sitting on a leaf. This appears harmless, yes? This single animal carries enough poison to kill 300 adult beings of most species. Humans call it cute and study it for scientific purposes. The image changed to show various snakes, spiders, and insects, each one carrying enough venom or poison to wipe out entire colonies. Humans live surrounded by these creatures every day. They build their homes in the same areas where these natural weapons exist. Some humans even keep them as companions. Dr. Zephyrin, a psychologist from the Harmony Institute, had been studying human entertainment and communication. He approached the podium with what looked like shell shock. Colleagues, I have spent weeks analyzing human recreational activities. What I have found challenges everything we know about rational behavior. His voice was shaking as he activated his own display. Humans voluntarily subject themselves to simulated dangers for something they call fun. They create stories about their own extinction and watch them for entertainment. The screen showed scenes from various human movies. Explosions, monster attacks, alien invasions, and natural disasters filled the display. They produce thousands of these scenarios every year. Stories about their cities being destroyed, their planet being invaded, their species being wiped out. And they enjoy watching these events. Dr. Zephyrin's usually calm demeanor was completely gone. But that's not the worst part. They create these scenarios and then try to make them real. The display changed to show humans engaging in extreme sports, skydiving, mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, and racing vehicles at impossible speeds. They throw themselves out of perfectly functional aircraft for pleasure. They climb mountains that could collapse at any moment. They dive to ocean depths where the pressure would crush our strongest hulls. A delegate from the Safety First Coalition fainted and had to be carried out of the chamber. When I asked a human why they engaged in these activities, the response was always the same: because it's fun. They actively seek out danger as a form of recreation. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison and his crew were experiencing their first taste of galactic celebrity status. The Hegemony Escort had brought them to Neutral Station. It's a massive space facility that served as a meeting point for different species. The moment they stepped off their ship, crowds of aliens gathered to stare at them. Some kept their distance, whispering and pointing. Others approached cautiously, as if Jake and his crew were dangerous animals in a zoo. "This is really weird," Pete Collins muttered as they walked through the station's main corridor. That crystalline family just crossed to the other side of the hallway when they saw us coming. Amy Parker was trying to record everything with her portable scanner. "Captain, I'm picking up some really strange conversations. Listen to this." She played back an intercepted communication between two Veltari traders. "Did you see them? Death World creatures are here. They look so small and harmless, but I heard one of them can tear through a security door with their bare hands." "That's ridiculous," Jake said. "I can't tear through anything with my bare hands." "Try telling them that," Tony Rodriguez replied. He pointed to a group of young aliens who were watching them from behind an information kiosk. "Those kids look terrified." Jake approached the group slowly, trying to appear friendly. The young aliens huddled together, but didn't run away. "Hello there, Jake," said in his gentlest voice. "I'm Jake. What are your names?" The oldest of the group, a small creature covered in soft fur, spoke in a tiny voice. Are you really from the Death World?" "Death World?" Jake asked. "You mean Earth?" The young alien nodded. "Is it true that your planet tries to kill you every day?" Jake thought about this question. "Well, we do have some dangerous weather sometimes, and wild animals. But it's not really trying to kill us. But the grown-ups say your people fight volcanoes and swim with sea monsters." Jake smiled. "Some people do climb volcanoes, but they're usually not active when we climb them. I guess sharks could be called sea monsters, but we don't really swim with them on purpose." Young aliens looked confused and disappointed. They seemed to expect humans to be more dramatic. Dr. Rachel Turner, Earth's first xenological ambassador, was having her own problems on the other side of the galaxy. She had been trying to answer questions from alien researchers, but every explanation seemed to make things worse. Dr. Turner asked Professor Vexkull of the Understanding Institute, "Is it true that young humans are forced to attend combat training facilities called schools?" "Combat training?" Rachel looked confused. "Schools are for education. Children learn reading, writing, mathematics, science. But we have reports of human children competing against each other in physical contests, running races, throwing objects for distance, engaging in team combat scenarios." Rachel suddenly understood. "You mean sports and physical education? Those aren't combat training? They're just games to help children stay healthy and learn teamwork." Professor Vexkull made notes frantically. "So, human offspring engage in mock warfare as play activity." "It's not warfare," Rachel tried to explain. "It's just fun competition." "Fun," Professor Vexkull repeated the word as if it were a foreign concept. "This word appears frequently in human communications, but we cannot understand its meaning in context." Rachel was beginning to realize how different human and alien perspectives really were. Fun means enjoyable activity. Something that makes you happy. And climbing mountains makes humans happy. Some humans, yes. And jumping from aircraft makes humans happy. Some people, yes. And consuming poison makes humans happy. Rachel paused. Poison? We don't consume poison, as our analysis indicates. That many human foods contain compounds that would be toxic to most species. Capsaicin, alcohol, caffeine. Oh, you mean spicy food and drinks? Those aren't really poison to us. We've evolved to handle them. Professor Vexkull's tentacles writhed in distress. You have evolved to consume toxins for pleasure? Back on neutral? Station Jake and his crew were trying to participate in what the station management called a cultural exchange dinner. The idea was to help different species understand each other better through shared meals. The problem was that human food was causing panic among the other diners. Pete, maybe you should turn down the heat on that barbecue, Jake suggested, as smoke began filling the dining area. This is low heat, Pete replied, flipping what looked like charred meat over an open flame. Back home, my grandmother would call this barely warm. The alien diners were backing away from the cooking area. Several had activated emergency breathing apparatus. Amy was trying to help by serving drinks, but that was causing its own problems. Would anyone like some coffee? She asked cheerfully. A harmonic collective delegate scanned the coffee with a portable analyzer and nearly dropped the device. This liquid contains enough stimulants to keep my entire family awake for a month. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from every major civilization had gathered to discuss what many were calling the greatest threat to galactic peace since the Void Wars. General Crystal of the Hegemony stood at the center of the chamber, his massive form casting shadows across the assembled delegates. His species was known for their military might and had never backed down from any challenge. But even he seemed nervous as he spoke. Fellow delegates, the evidence is clear. Humans represent an existential threat to our way of life. They are unpredictable, impossibly resilient, and completely without fear. We must act before they develop full interstellar capabilities. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The fear in the room was almost tangible. I propose immediate military containment of the Sol system, General Crystal continued. We surround their space with our combined fleets and prevent any human vessels from leaving their territory. Ambassador Wealthy of the Diplomatic Corps raised her crystalline hand. General, surely you're not suggesting we declare war on a species that has never attacked anyone. They don't need to attack us directly, Crystal replied. Their very existence is an attack on the natural order.
How?
They make other species feel inadequate and afraid simply by being themselves. The debate that followed was heated and chaotic. Some delegates called for immediate action against Earth. Others suggested offering tribute to humanity in hopes of appeasing them. A few brave souls argued for peaceful coexistence, but they were quickly shouted down. Dr. Quinter approached the central podium with his latest research findings. His normally calm demeanor was replaced by barely controlled panic. Honored delegates, my research team has made a disturbing discovery. The humans are not just dangerous individually. They appear to be getting more dangerous as they spread into space. The display showed recent reports from human colonies and outposts across the galaxy. Human settlers have established communities on worlds we classified as uninhabitable. They are thriving in environments that would kill most of our species within hours. The first image showed a human colony on a world with surface temperatures that could melt most metals. The colonists were walking around in simple protective suits, working in conditions that should have been impossible. This is Colony 7 on Furnace Prime. The atmospheric temperature averages 400 degrees. Humans have been living there for 6 months and report that they enjoy the warm weather. The next image was even more disturbing. It showed humans working underwater on an ocean world where the pressure was crushing. Deep Blue Station exists at a depth where our submarines would be crushed instantly. The human colonists built their city on the ocean floor and claimed the pressure helps them sleep better. But the most shocking report came from the edge of known space. 3 weeks ago, human explorers made contact with the Void Touched, a species we have avoided for centuries because of their hostile nature and toxic biology. Instead of fleeing or fighting, the humans invited them to dinner. The chamber erupted in chaos. The Void Touched were legendary for their aggression and had destroyed several first contact missions in the past. The dinner was apparently successful. The humans and Void Touched are now engaged in regular trade. When asked how they managed peaceful contact, the human ambassador said they just talked things out over some good food. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison and his crew were learning about their species' reputation in the most uncomfortable way possible. They had been brought to the council chambers as evidence of human nature, but they were being treated more like dangerous specimens than guests. The holding area where they waited was designed for maximum security. Force fields, armed guards, and sensor arrays surrounded them on all sides. Jake felt like a criminal, even though he had never committed any crime. "This is nuts," Pete Collins said, pacing back and forth in their confined space. "We're being treated like we're going to explode or something." Amy Parker was monitoring the council debate through her portable scanner. "Captain, you need to hear this. They're actually discussing whether to attack Earth." Attack Earth. Jake stood up quickly, causing the guards outside their cell to reach for their weapons. "Why would they attack our home planet?" "Because they think we're planning to conquer the galaxy," Amy replied. "Listen to this." She played back part of General Crystal's speech. "Mark my words, fellow delegates. Today, they offer friendship and trade. Tomorrow, they will demand tribute. Next year, they will be ruling us all. Tony Rodriguez shook his head in disbelief. How did they get that idea? We've never threatened anyone. That's what makes it worse. Amy said, They think we're so dangerous that we don't even need to threaten people. They believe our mere existence is a threat. Dr. Lisa Carter had arrived at the station a few hours earlier and was being held in a separate, even more secure area. Her reputation as the human who performed surgery on herself had made her the most feared individual in the galaxy. Came a voice through the communication system. This is Dr. Milseth of the Medical Collective. I need to ask you some questions. Of course, Lisa replied calmly. What would you like to know? Is it true that you cut into your own body while fully conscious? Yes, but it was necessary. Someone needed to repair the engine, and I was the only one small enough to fit through the access hatch after the crash. There was a long pause before Dr. Milseth responded. You prioritized mechanical repair over your own medical needs? Medical situation wasn't immediately life-threatening. The engine failure was. If I hadn't fixed it, we all would have died when the shuttle's orbit decayed. So you chose to cause yourself pain in order to save others? Lisa seemed confused by the question. Of course, wouldn't anyone do the same thing? The communication system went silent. Unknown to Lisa, Dr. Milseth had fainted again. Back in the main chamber, the debate was reaching dangerous levels.
Ouch.
Delegates were shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. The fear and confusion were turning into anger and paranoia. Humans are obviously planning something, insisted Representative Zichtel of the Merchant Guild.
Ow.
No species helps others without expecting something in return. They must be planning to collect on all the favors they've done. But they've never asked for anything, pointed out Ambassador Wealthy. Every human contact has been beneficial to our people. That's exactly what makes them so frightening, General Crystal replied. They're too good to be true. No species is that helpful without hidden motives. The paranoia was spreading. Delegates began sharing wild theories about human intentions. Some believed humans were secretly studying other species for weaknesses. Others thought the helpful behavior was designed to make other civilizations dependent on human assistance. The situation reached a breaking point when news arrived of the latest human incident. A human medical team had responded to a plague outbreak on Sanctuary Station and had successfully treated the disease in record time. They cured the red fever in 3 days, Dr. Quinter reported, the disease that has killed millions across the galaxy for centuries. They solved it in 3 days using methods our medical experts call impossible. The chamber fell silent. Red fever was one of the most feared diseases in known space. Entire civilizations had fallen to its effects. How? Whispered Dr. Milseth, who had recovered from her earlier fainting spell. They used something they call aggressive treatment protocols. Apparently, they deliberately exposed themselves to the disease in order to study it more effectively. The horror in the chamber was palpable. Deliberately exposing oneself to a deadly disease was considered the height of insanity by every galactic medical standard. But that's not the worst part, Dr. Quinter continued. When they developed the cure, they gave it away for free. They refused all payment and said they were just happy to help. This final revelation sent the chamber into complete chaos. Free medical treatment violated every principle of galactic economics. No one gave away valuable resources without expecting something in return. They're trying to make us dependent on them, General Crystal declared. First, they save our lives. Then they'll demand our loyalty. Or maybe, said a small voice from the back of the chamber, they're just trying to be helpful. The speaker was Delegate Pippin of the Small Worlds Alliance, a tiny being who rarely spoke during council sessions. What if we're wrong about their motives? Pippin continued. What if humans really are just trying to help people? Impossible, General Crystal replied. No species is that altruistic. But what if they are? Pippin asked. What if humans are exactly what they appear to be? Good people who help others because they think it's the right thing to do? The chamber fell silent as delegates considered this possibility. It was almost too frightening to contemplate. Species that helped others without expecting rewards would challenge everything they believed about civilization and survival. If that's true, Ambassador Wealthy said slowly, then we're not afraid of humans because they're dangerous. We're afraid of them because they're better than us. The weight of that realization settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. For the first time in galactic history, an entire civilization was being forced to confront the possibility that their own cynicism and the Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos as delegates watched the tactical display in horror. The human ship Endeavour was racing directly toward the out-of-control vessel, ignoring all safety protocols and common sense. They're going to get themselves killed, Ambassador Wealthy whispered, her crystalline features reflecting the light from the display screens. General Crystal stood frozen at his command post. In all his years of military service, he had never seen anyone voluntarily fly into such obvious danger. What are they doing? On the display, they could see the Endeavour matching course and speed with the runaway ship. The vessel was spinning wildly in leaking atmosphere into space. Any collision would destroy both ships instantly. Jake Morrison's voice came over the communication system, calm and steady, despite the impossible situation he was flying into. Pete, get ready with the magnetic grapples. Amy, try to raise someone on that ship. Tony, keep us steady. Captain, came Pete's voice, their hull is breached in at least 6 places. Even if we stop them, I don't think anyone inside could still be alive. Then we'll find out for sure, Jake replied. Amy, any luck with communications? I'm getting something, Captain. It's very weak, but there's definitely someone alive over there. The council chamber. Dr. Quinter was frantically running calculations on his portable computer. The gravitational forces alone should have crushed any crew aboard that vessel. How can there be survivors? Dr. Millseth checked her own instruments. The atmospheric readings showed that ship has been without life support for over an hour. No known species could survive those conditions. Except humans, Delegate Pippin said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the small delegate. What do you mean? General Crixto asked. Think about it, Pippin explained. We've been so focused on how dangerous humans are that we forgot the most important thing about them. They survive things that kill everyone else. On the display, they watched as the Endeavour successfully matched the spinning motion of the damaged ship. It was a feat of piloting that should have been impossible, but Tony Rodriguez made it look routine. Grapples attached, Pete reported. Beginning deceleration sequence. The two ships slowed together, their joined mass creating gravitational stresses that would have torn apart most vessels. But somehow, both ships held together. Life signs confirmed aboard the damaged vessel, Amy announced. I count 12 survivors, but they're in bad shape. Prep the docking tube, Jake ordered. We're going aboard. In the council chamber. Delegates watched in stunned silence as the human crew prepared to enter a ship that was falling apart around its occupants. This is madness, General Crixtal muttered. They could die at any moment. But they're doing it anyway, Ambassador Wealthy observed. Why? Dr. Quinter looked up from his calculations. Because that's what humans do. They see people in danger, and they help. It doesn't matter if it's logical or safe or profitable, they just help. The rescue operation took 2 hours. The council delegates watched in fascination as Jake Morrison and his crew worked to save the survivors. Pete Collins crawled through damaged sections of the ship that were barely holding together. Amy Parker provided medical care to injured aliens using equipment designed for human physiology. Tony Rodriguez somehow kept both ships stable while they transferred the survivors. Dr. Lisa Carter, who had been brought from her holding cell to assist with medical emergencies, worked alongside the alien medical teams to treat the rescued beings. Her calm competence in the face of life-threatening injuries was both inspiring and terrifying to watch. How does she remain so calm? Dr. Millseth asked, watching Lisa perform delicate surgery while the damaged ship shook around her. She's used to it, Dr. Quinter replied. Remember, humans live on a world that's constantly trying to kill them. This is probably just another Tuesday for her. When the last survivor was safely transferred to the station's medical bay, Jake Morrison finally addressed the council directly. He stood in the chamber's center, looking tired but satisfied, completely unaware that he had just provided the most compelling evidence yet of humanity's terrifying nature. Honored delegates, Jake began. I understand there's been some confusion about my species and our intentions in the galaxy. General Crickstall stepped forward. Captain Morrison, your people have been declared the most dangerous species in known space. How do you respond to that charge? Jake looked genuinely confused. Dangerous? Just people trying to make a living and explore the galaxy? We've never attacked anyone or threatened any civilization. That's exactly what makes you so frightening, Ambassador Wealthy said. You help people without expecting anything in return. You risk your lives for strangers. You face deadly situations with casual courage. These behaviors are incomprehensible to most species. But that's just being a decent person, Jake replied. Anyone would do the same thing. No, Captain Morrison, Dr. Quinter said softly. Anyone would not do the same thing. Most species would have calculated the risks and decided the rescue wasn't worth the danger. You didn't even hesitate. Jake looked around at the assembled delegates, finally beginning to understand the scope of the misunderstanding. You're afraid? Of us because we help people? We're afraid of you because you make us realize what we've lost, Delegate Pip said. Our civilizations have become so advanced and comfortable that we've forgotten what it means to be brave. We've forgotten what it means to help others just because it's the right thing to do. The chamber fell silent as the truth of Pip's words settled over the delegates. For centuries, galactic civilization had been built on careful calculations of risk and reward. Trade agreements, military alliances, and diplomatic relations were all based on mutual benefit and self-interest. Humans represented something that had been missing from the galaxy for so long that most species had forgotten. It existed. Genuine altruism. Dr. Milseth approached the central platform, her medical scanner still active. Captain Morrison, may I ask you a question? Of course. When you saw that ship in distress, what was your first thought? Jake considered the question. That there might be people inside who needed help, not whether the rescue would be profitable. No, not. Whether it would put your own crew at risk? Well, that occurred to me, but it didn't change anything. People needed help. Dr. Milseth turned to address the full council. Fellow delegates, I have spent my career studying the psychology of different species. What Captain Morrison describes is not calculation or strategy, it's instinct. Humans are instinctively compelled to help others in distress. General Crickstall shook his head. It would be a severe evolutionary disadvantage. How did such a trait survive natural selection? Amy Parker stepped forward. Because we're stronger together. On Earth, the creatures that survived were the ones that helped each other. We learned that cooperation and mutual aid were the best ways to overcome dangerous situations. So you're saying that helping others is actually a survival strategy? Ambassador Wealthy asked. Not a strategy, Pete Collins replied. It's just who we are. We help because that's what humans do. The realization hit the assembled delegates like a physical force. Humans weren't trying to conquer the galaxy or manipulate other species. They were simply being themselves, and their natural behavior was so far removed from galactic norms that it seemed impossible. What do we do now? Someone asked. Ambassador Wealthy stood slowly. We learn from them. For too long, our civilizations have been focused on safety and self-interest. We've created perfect societies where nothing bad ever happens, but we've also created societies where nothing truly good happens either. She gestured toward Jake and his crew. These humans remind us that there's more to existence than just survival. There's purpose, courage, and the simple satisfaction of helping others. General Crickstall looked uncomfortable. Are you suggesting we abandon our military protocols and safety measures? Suggesting we remember what those protocols were originally designed to protect? Wealthy replied. We built our defenses too. Preserve our way of life, but somewhere along the way, we forgot what made that life worth preserving. Dr. Quinter activated the main display one final time. Instead of showing dangerous worlds or military threats, it showed images of the rescued survivors being treated in the station's medical bay. Fellow delegates, he announced, I move that we officially welcome humanity to the Galactic Council, not as a threat to be contained, but as a teacher to be learned from. The vote was unanimous. Jake Morrison found himself holding an award he still didn't fully understand. The crystalline trophy was inscribed with words in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing: most terrifying planet Earth. I still don't get it, he said to his crew as they prepared to return to their ship. How is being helpful terrifying? Dr. Lisa Carter smiled. Maybe it's not about being terrifying, Captain. Maybe it's about reminding everyone else what they could be if they weren't so afraid. As the Endeavour departed from neutral station, communications channels across the galaxy buzzed with new conversations. For the first time in centuries, different species were talking about cooperation instead of competition, about helping others instead of just helping themselves. The award for most terrifying planet would continue to go to Earth every year, but now it carried a different meaning.